Welcome to Brazil. We are Team 2 and we will be your guide today. Brazil is a beautiful South American country that covers roughly 3.2 million miles, of which 4,000 miles of beautiful coastline. Brazil is also home to the Amazon rainforest, which is a vital repository of ecological services not only for local tribes, but for the entire world as well. Brazil borders every South American country except for Chile and Ecuador. Brazil consists of 26 states and one federal district, which come together to make 5 regions. Brazil is the fifth largest country in terms of both population and size. Brazil has a population of 202.8 million people, in contrast to the United States' 318.8 million people. Its official name is the Federative Republic of Brazil. The official language is Portuguese. This is because Brazil is a federal republic that gained independence from Portugal September 7, 1822. The official currency of Brazil is the Brazilian real. Brazil is a free country, scoring a 2.0 on the Freedom House Political Freedom Index. Brazil is a federal republic governed under a presidential system. These elections are generally free and fair. The president is elected by popular vote for a 4-year term and is eligible for re-election for a second term. The most recent election was in October 2014. Brazil has had a long history of political unrest and instability. However, after the election of 2014, the Brazilian people had great hopes for their new leader. In 2015, however, corruption and scandal plagued Brazil's political leaders and has caused approval ratings to drop and instabilities to form. Brazilians disapprove of President Rousseff's policies on corruption and crime. Brazil's economic freedom score for 2015 is 56.6, and for 2016 has dropped by zero point 0.1, meaning they are economically mostly unfree. In contrast to the United States, who is free and scored 76.2 in 2015. They ranked 122nd globally and 21st regionally in South and Central America, Caribbean region. They have had great success in trade freedoms. However, corruption, mismanagement of public finances, and regulatory efficiency are high concerns in the country. Foreign investment in agricultural land is restricted. However, Brazil holds the region's largest financial services market. The state has become increasingly more involved in credit markets since 2008 and now accounts for almost half of all loans within Brazil's private sector. Inflation in the country has had a significant increase since 2014, when the government imposed several tax increases aiming at balancing the overall budget. This increase is causing consumer prices to reach a 12-year high in 2016. While Brazil falls below the United States in both Human Development Index and Inequality Adjusted Index, they actually score above the United States in Gender Development Index and had their first female president in 2014. Brazil's gross national income per capita is 15,590, ranking them 57th among the world. They are open to foreign direct investment, and that has increased annually since a sharp decline in 2008. Currently, one Brazilian real is equal to 1/4 United States dollar, or 25 cents.
In regards to imports and exports, as you can see, a bulk of Brazil's imports are that of manufacturers, with oil coming in second. Brazil sits on an abundant oil supply but does little to capitalize on it and allow it to help it grow the economy. Brazil has an ideal climate for sustained growth of many crops, making agriculture one of Brazil's main exports along with manufactures, fuels, and mining. Natural resources in Brazil are not hard to find. Looking at the Hofstede model, Brazil scores a 69 on power distance. This reflects a society that believes hierarchy should be respected and inequalities amongst people are somewhat acceptable. Brazil is far less individualistic when compared to the US. Brazil is more community-oriented and wants to be considered part of a group, family, friends, co-workers, rather than be seen as someone who looks out only for themselves. Brazil scores in the middle of the line on masculinity, long-term orientation, and indulgence, but scores a fairly high 76 on uncertain avoidance. Brazil's people need elaborate legal systems and a strong rule structure. They are very emotional people and need strict laws in order for their country to be as safe as possible. When looking at Trump and Nair's model, you basically get the same thing. Brazil is a society with more a community collectivistic attitude that believes that hierarchy should be established and a set of rules should be followed. Research and development expenditures on technology in Brazil is definitely not one of its strong points. As you can see, Brazil is well below the US in this category and even below the world average. Even as the world spending on this category has spiked over the past year, Brazil has stayed rather stagnant. Brazil's Environmental Performance Index is actually quite consistent with the US for the most part. Other than air quality, fisheries, and biodiversity and habitat, Brazil ranks higher than the US. The EPI score is almost exactly parallel to the US's. Other than the performance of the forces, Brazil did quite well. The environmental impact of things such as liquid fuels, solid fuels, and others can be seen here. Liquid fuels has a noticeably larger impact on the environment than anything else. This is in contrast to the US, has had the same amount of impact using liquid fuels or solid fuels. Bunker fuels, gas flaring, and cement production make up the last bit of impact percentage. The Brazilian government is a federal republic, similar to the representative government we have here in the US. They have quite a few political parties consisting of the Brazilian Democratic Movement Party, Workers' Party, Progressive Party, and the Brazilian Social Democracy. Similar to the US, there are three branches of government split between the executive, legislative, and judicial. The government plays a very important role in controlling many of the factors of the country's economy. When looking at the SWOT analysis of Brazil, it has many amazing potentials to be a major market and big player in the world economy. With its high population and amount of natural resources, the base is in place for growth. Brazil's high crime rate, though, and racial issues and government corruptions are keeping them from flourishing the way it should. Fixing these problems allows for a potential to build on its many opportunities. Brazil's oil supply, agricultural possibilities, and natural resources can allow for a growing middle class, which is a base for all strong, stable economies. The social inequalities, poor exchange rates, and corruption within the government are the main barriers standing in their way.